and it was musty and whatnot.
But it was a pool room, right?
Yeah, when he had it. Now his daughter said, and you can't see the wall, but the wall over there, you could still see like a window, and he used to hide booze between the walls. So see, in the 1925 fire, with the wood buildings and the 45-mile-an-hour winds, once the fire jumped to this block, his building blew.
Because it was full of alcohol.
Quickly, yeah. But this window here, it's interesting because this was all blocked off when I rented in the early 90s and 1990s. And I had two gals come in, a little paranormal thing here, 9 and 11 years old on a Sunday, cute, dressed up in little dresses and little purses, and I had a little bar, and they wanted an Italian soda, which I was serving in my little coffee shop. And I had a friend who was a school teacher in Sedona, and we were sitting playing backgammon, and on Sunday it was normally really, really quiet down here because it was still kind of like a ghost town. And so these two cute little gals come in, and, oh, we would like a soda. So I made them each an Italian soda, and they sat down. And we were talking a little bit, and all of a sudden, the 11-year-old, she was starting to go like this. And she came back like this. And she says, my friend says there's a man in the back. And so I look at her friend, the 9-year-old, and I says, really? What does he look like? And so she says, no, not that friend. My friend, Michelle, you can't see her. And so she starts talking about the man in the back. And I says, well, will you go and ask Michelle what his name is? You know, what is he doing? So she pulls one of these numbers and comes back. She says she's afraid of him. She's afraid to talk to him, but he's standing looking out the back window. They did not know that there was a back window. They couldn't see anything. This was all blocked off. And he's looking back at his house. How did they know? I had never seen those two gals before, and I never saw them after.
Whoa.
Oh, I could share so many paranormal stories with this. He used to come and visit me all the time. Another really good one is where my counter, actually the counter that I have in my office right now, I had over here, and you'd walk in and you'd have to walk past it because I had it on the side, kind of closer to the wall. And one day, it was a gorgeous day like it is today, I had put my dog back here, my Chow Chow at the time, and I went up front and I was working on some paperwork, and all of a sudden, coming through the front door, I would hear across the wood floor, I'd hear somebody walk, I'd hear the floor squeak, I could smell and I could see the white apparition, and it would stop right at the end of the counter where I was working for a moment, and then it would go back out the door.
Wow.
And my dog was going crazy, just like he did during thunderstorms. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And dogs are very sensitive to spirit, to the spirit world. So anyways, this was going on for a couple of hours. And all of a sudden, we used to have Mount Hope over here where the Hippie Emporium is, and health food store. There was a couple, and they were on their way to Mount Hope. And she come walking through the door, and she says, oh, my God. She says, I told my husband, hurry, do a U-turn, go back there right now. She says, we did a U-turn out here. We were on our way to Mount Hope, and I said, no, you got to go back there right now. So they parked out front, and she comes walking in like this. And I'm like, oh, my God, Sedona.
Yeah, right.
And her husband is twiddling his thumbs. Oh, here she goes again. And she says, oh, my God, the energy. She says, I was just pulled in here. She says, there's a woman standing outside. And I'm looking, and I don't see anybody. And then she says, and she comes through the door, and she walks in front of you, and she stops at the end of the counter for a moment, and she turns around and walks back out and stands by this hourglass. So I'm looking back out there again. Now, she's seeing more than I am.
Yeah.
So she says there's this huge hourglass. So she did this a couple times while they were here. And then she said she's waiting for somebody. And all of a sudden, a man shows up. She described this woman and this man to a T. And she says, and then they both come in together. They come over to you, and they hang something up on the wall. And she says, I think it's a deed. It kind of looks like a deed. Well, anyways, they had left. And a couple days later, of course, I'm friends with the old timers, the two daughters to the Arizona Bootlegger King that were sharing all their stories, and two daughters of the owner of the old Rialto Theater. So, and they grew up together, and they watched their dads build a lot of these buildings 2 and 3 times after all the fires. The one brings me in a picture. It is of Joe Hall and Minnie Hall, his wife at the time. And it was to the T of the description of what that woman told me.
Whoa.
And
she just came in off the street.
off the street, and I've had numerous others. One time I had 6 psychics from Sedona, and they said, oh my God, Karen, we have to do a psychic fair, which I ended up doing a couple. They said, the energy here, and Joe Hall would come and visit me. I had numerous psychics said, oh, Joe Hall's here, and he was the one throwing smoke clouds. Anytime I had a guy come in to help me, he would throw things off the wall. He really liked me from what they said, and he was trying to protect me, or he was jealous or something. And one time, he threw the heater that used to be up here, above here, right here. This all used to be up above before they put the new one in. It was a cold winter day. I just hired a young man from high school to help me in the coffee shop, and I was training him. And all of a sudden, we heard this huge bang up in the attic over here, and stuff was flying off the wall. And I was waiting for electricians to come in that day because I had some other work to do. And all of a sudden, the heat went out, and it was ice cold in here to where you could see your breath. Then the electricians came, and I said, forget doing what you came here for today. Please go see why I don't have heat. They went up into the attic. They said the whole thing was out like somebody threw it.